Okay, yeah, I see now.
Yep, we're live. That's great. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm joined again by JC, John, and this time we're going to be talking about the story of Ozzy Osbourne. We've got two people in already. That's excellent. So yeah, this is the fifth one we've actually done. We were going to do this in December, but it didn't quite work out. So we're going to do it now. And yeah, basically we're going to go through his whole career, his whole music career, not his life. So we're going to start off with the 70s stuff of Black Sabbath, all the way up to his new album, Patient Number 9. I'm not sure how many more of these we'll do. We just had a discussion ourselves talking about we might possibly do an Iron Maiden one next time. If you want to see that, that'd be really cool. Or even like put in the comments or in the chat or whatever, any bands you might want to see us do in the future. Archie the Rock Beast. Doing good, thanks. How are you? Okay, yeah. And also I just wanted to say a massive thanks to everyone for the support recently, and I gained quite a few new subscribers recently as well. So I really appreciate that. And anyone watching this right now or after the fact, really appreciate it. And yeah, let's just get straight into this. So John is going to start us off talking about the 70s era, his time in Black Sabbath.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, it's Ozzy Osbourne has a very long career, and he's one of the pioneers of what we know now as heavy metal. All the words stage here. So hello, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
So Ozzy Osbourne, we all know he started with Black Sabbath. So when he was pretty much like recruited, and I know Ozzy Osbourne didn't really have a lot of experience. He kind of just like answered an ad, and he was kind of like the right guy for the job. So they hired him as a singer, and Black Sabbath released their self-titled debut album, which is a very influential album. It's like considered to be one of the first heavy metal albums ever. So that was a really great one. And then that same year, 1970. Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
He's saying I need to be a little louder. Okay.
That's cool.
Let me see if.
All right, Paul.
Let me see if I can. Is there a way to adjust my mic? Okay. Well, anyway, I'll try. I'll try to get up a little closer.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay.
I'll try to. We've got Josh Mike's fine.
Just that in my space right here, it's I kind of like I have like this like table right behind me, so if I move, I can't move too back. But anyway,
that's cool. Yeah.
So the same year, 1970, they released Paranoid. That's a really great album. That has one of their biggest hits, which was Paranoid. It has Iron Man, and this was just a solid album, one of the greatest heavy metal albums of all time. Now, also at this time, he met Sharon, who her name was Sharon Arden at that time, and they were actually considering that her father, Don Arden, would be their new manager, and Sharon was working as a receptionist. So, she would later be his wife. So, just 5 months after Paranoid, they released Master of Reality, another one of the greatest like metal albums of all time. It still holds up to this day. It's probably like one of my favorite. It could even be my favorite album from Black Sabbath because it's just a solid album. Okay, the Rock Beast says his favorite.
And Paul as well. Paul said that as well.
And Paul, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And let me comment on Steve's comment where he said, "I love you both wearing Maiden shirts during the show about Sabbath." We didn't plan it, and actually, the funny thing is that they're both for the same tour, Legacy of the Beast. Yeah. And I have a Black Sabbath. I have multiple Black Sabbath shirts. I have one for Never Say Die, and I have a couple other ones. And I was like just about to change, but I kind of forgot at the last minute. But I think this is kind of a sign for us to do an Iron Maiden stream next. But
yeah,
so,
let's
get back.
Yeah, let's get back on track.
Yeah, well, we're having fun. So anyway,
yeah.
Next, Volume 4. This one came out in 1972. Again, these guys putting out albums on a regular basis. Really good album. They were doing a lot of had a lot of substance abuse problems with that one, but they ended up putting out a really good album. That's another solid one. I really like Snowblind. It's a really solid album. So we have the Rock Beast, Wicked World, is one of the best Black Sabbath tunes. Okay, and 1973, we're only 3 years into their career. They're still releasing albums, and have Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, another one of my favorites. I like this one a lot. They kind of started doing some different stuff. I like the acoustic song, like Fluff. That's a really good one. And Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, that's just straightforward heavy metal. Let me talk a little bit more about this. I like this album. I'll pull up the tracks.
Yeah.
Abracadabra, I like that one. I like a lot. And I think they do some more. That sound like a little more like proggier stuff, like prog rock, like Killing Yourself to Live and Who Are You. I think those ones are less of that darker metal and a little more proggier. So I like that one. So this is a really good album. It's kind of probably doesn't get a lot of attention, but this one I like a lot. After that, they released Sabotage, and this one they're moving in a direction which is again kind of expanding their sound. And this is a great album. This is probably in my top 5 as well, because it has a lot of songs that aren't the ones that are really overplayed. It has a lot of songs that we don't hear that much, but we got Hole in the Sky. That was a radio hit. Symptom of the Universe. That's probably one of the first thrash metal songs. If you look at the way the guitar riff is structured, it just has that palm muted open E, that galloping, and that's that's kind of the basis of metal music and heavy metal. So I think that song is very ahead of its time, and it came out in 1975. Megalomania, I love that one. It's just a long song. It's just really creepy, and I just love the vocals in that one. And I like Am I Going Insane? That's a really good one. And the last song, The Writ, another one. It's one of those long spooky songs. This is a really really great album. Another one that's underrated. Okay, so after that, we move on to Technical Ecstasy. And this is when the band was kind of starting to have problems. And, they wanted to kind of do different stuff. I think they wanted to play more of something more radio friendly. I know Tony Iommi wanted to do stuff that was more in the vein of something more bands that were popular at that time, like Foreigner and that, the things that were more radio friendly. But it's still a good album. It's maybe a step down from some of the first ones, but I like this one a lot. So let's look at some of the songs. I think it's really good. I like Rock and Roll Doctors, good one. Dirty Woman. Again, not a super heavy album, but I think it's a good, really a hard rock album. So, and it does have some pretty good hidden gems in here. And then after that, they released, this is the last album with Ozzy until 13, I believe. And that is Never Say Die. This one, I like this one a lot. I think actually I might like it better than Technical Ecstasy. And they were basically having a lot of problems with this. I mean, this is right before Ozzy Osbourne left the band, but I think that they released a pretty decent album. Again, it's more of a rock album, but for example, the song Never Say Die, title track, I like that one. Just a cool hard rock song. I like Johnny Blade. That one's cool. The Hard Road, I like that one. It has this cool galloping guitar riffs, and just pretty much the whole album in general. this is pretty much the last album with just that core Black Sabbath lineup: Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. The last one until 13, I believe, had that same lineup, which we'll talk about later. But after this, Ozzy Osbourne pretty much he left the band. So he actually let me backtrack a little bit, talk more about Ozzy. He left in 1978 for a couple of months. He wanted to pursue a solo project, which was called Blizzard of Oz, which is the name of his first solo album. And that was actually like he was wanting to form a band called that. So that's cool. Actually, let me look at Steve's comment.
Yeah.
He
we
says,
can go through some comments.
Got a couple. Cannot go wrong saying that any of the first 6 sound is your favorite. You know, like Texel Ecstasy and Never Say Die a Lot. But yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a drop of quality, but I think that they're still pretty decent albums. I think I still like some songs on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we? Okay, so I was talking about but by 1978, Ozzy Osbourne kind of was thinking of doing his own thing. You know, Never Say Die. They were touring with Van Halen, so that was pretty cool, and it was just the band was really in a really bad place. So that was when pretty much at this point Black Sabbath broke up, but they were fortunate enough to find Ronnie James Dio, which is kind of a different chapter of Black Sabbath, which we're actually not going to talk about because we're kind of going to talk more about Ozzy's solo career. So that is that's pretty much all for Black Sabbath with throughout the 70s for now. And, I kept it brief, but it was a long career. So I don't know if you want to take over with 1980 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to go through a couple of comments. Paul says Mob Rules is his favourite of the Dio Sabbath albums. That's fair enough. And then he also says Metal Church would be a good band to talk about. Yeah, that'd be cool. I've never really listened to Metal Church, so I would have to.
Yeah, that's good. They just announced a new vocalist. I don't remember his name, but it's one of those bands where like they have really bad luck with vocalists. Like they've had 3 so far, and now they have a 4th one. But yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Well, yeah, could do. So yeah, okay. So let's move on to the 80s then. So yeah, John kind of touched on it a little bit. I can kind of carry that on when he got fired from Black Sabbath, and then he went to make his own solo band. It's sort of at the end of the 70s, start of the 80s, kind of late 70s, early 80s. And that was when he met up with Bob Daisley, Don Airey as well, Lee Kasake as well.
It's Kerslake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's from Uriah Heep.
And yeah, from Uriah Heep. Bob Daisley of Rainbow, Don Airey of Rainbow and Deep Purple. And then he appointed Randy Rhoads of Quiet Riot on the guitar, even though he did originally wanted Gary Moore of Thin Lizzy. He wanted Gary Moore, but Gary Moore at the time, he said no. He wanted to just do his own solo career at that point in time. So yeah, then he ended up getting Randy Rhoads, and throughout 1980, they recorded and made the debut album Blizzard of Oz. That's
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, this was released on the 12th of September. And around the time when this got released, some of the biggest singles on this album barely got any airplay at the time, even though it was one of the 100 best sellers of the 80s. And yeah, since its release, it's been certified 5 times platinum. And for me, this is probably the best Ozzy solo album. For me, I don't think it really gets much better than this album.
Yeah.
From start to finish, absolute banger. Love it. Okay. So yeah, 1981. In October, he released Diary of a Madman, and yeah, this one featured more songs that were co-written by Lee Kasich. And yeah, this album is most known for Over the Mountain and Flying High Again. To date, the album has sold over 3 million copies worldwide. And according to Ozzy, this is his personal favourite out of his collection of albums. After the album, Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo were brought in to replace Lee and Bob Daisley. Tommy Aldridge was Osbourne's original choice for drummer, but due to a commitment with Gary Moore, it made him unavailable. And Sarzo played in Randy Rhoads' band Quiet Riot, so that's how he got the job. Got a few comments I'm going to go through here. It was relatively unknown when it was released. I think he's talking about Blizzard of Oz there.
Yeah, I think so.
When Blizzard of Oz got released, it didn't do very well, despite it selling, despite it going 5 times platinum now. It's the worst album ever made. Okay, fair enough. Title track is Diary of a Madman.
Yeah, that's one of my top Ozzy solo tracks.
Yeah, it's haunting. I remember Kirk Hammett saying that about that song. It's like one of the most haunting songs he's ever heard. Viking X, how you doing, man? Right, okay. So let's move on to 1982, and this is the part where it's going to get a bit more tragic. On the 19th of March, the band were in Florida on the Diary of a Madman tour, a week away from playing at the Madison Square Garden. And this is where the plane crash incident happened, where there was a light aircraft which was piloted by the band's tour bus driver, and it had Randy Rhoads and Rachel Youngblood, who was a costume makeup designer. And they were basically flying about in this plane. And the driver crashed it. The left wing of the aircraft clipped the tour bus, causing the plane to graze a tree and crash into the garage of a nearby mansion. And all 3 people that were on it were all killed, including Randy Rhoads. And it's really, really tragic, especially the fact that he was 24 at the time. And that basically caused Osbourne to fall into a bit of a depression. And the tour was cancelled at the time. But also a couple of months after that, Ozzy and Sharon got married. And then after that, I think that might have given him a bit more motivation to carry on. So after that, Ozzy approached Gary Moore again to replace Rhoads, but he refused. And then this is where a bit of confusion comes up, because Bernie Torm was appointed as the new lead guitarist at a real short notice, but he wasn't who the band wanted. He was appointed by Jet Records, who Ozzy was signed to at the time. They basically appointed him for Ozzy, but they wanted to get Robert Sarzo, who was the brother of the bassist at the time. So yeah, the tour resumed on the 1st of April, but it didn't work out, and because fans didn't like his guitar style, so he left after a couple of shows, and then they got Night Rangers' Brad Gillis to finish the tour. And then after that, they released a live album called Speak of the Devil. And that was released in November 1982. That live album features a lot of Black Sabbath songs. I think they were going to play a lot. They were going to use songs from Diary of a Madman, but in the end, they just made it up, considering they made it consisting of Black Sabbath covers instead.
I'm looking at the track list. It's actually all Black Sabbath.
I don't think. I don't know whether they did that out of respect for Randy, or they just thought, let's just do an album with Black Sabbath songs. Maybe the guitarist they had at the time was more suited to doing Sabbath than Randy. I don't know, but
it was who played on that one? Brad Gillis on guitar.
Yeah, Brad Gillis.
From Night Ranger, yeah.
Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge. I think it was just the four of them. Yeah. So I'm just going to go through a couple of comments before we carry on.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. You're here now, so that's great. Steve. That's fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, Ozzy's solo stuff is completely different to Black Sabbath.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah, completely different style. Twangers turntable popped in. Oh, okay, that's fair enough. Never listened to Ozzy Osbourne. That's fair enough. Start with these two. Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. I think we'd all probably say these two are the best two.
Yeah, I would agree they're the best. I go back and forth between those being the best.
Yeah. Okay. So let's carry on with 1983. So 1983, Jakey Lee, formerly of Rat and Rough Cut, is appointed as the new lead guitarist. And then they go into the studio and make Bark at the Moon. This album was co-written with Daisley and featured Aldred and former Rainbow keyboard Don Airey. It was released in December of 1983. The album, hang on, I've lost it. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, the album contains the fan favorite title track "Bark at the Moon," which I personally think is probably the best song on the album. The music video was filmed at the Holloway Sanatorium outside London. Peaked at number 19 on the Billboard. Within a few weeks, was certified gold. Sold 3 million copies in the United States. And then following this album, they toured for 2 years. I've got to be honest, this is not my favourite of his 80s era. I know a lot of people really like this album, but for me, I've never got on with it. I've never gotten on with it. I don't know why. It's just maybe because it's a little bit. Maybe because they tried to recreate Diary of a Madman with a new guitar player, and they couldn't quite replicate it. It just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
I might listen to it. Yeah, I think you should, man.
I like Center of Eternity from that album. That's a good deep cut.
Yeah. Rock and Roll Rebel as well. I really like Rock and Roll Rebel. And what's the other song? Waiting for Darkness. That's pretty cool. So Tired. I hate that song. Does anyone else hate that song? Oh, I can't stand it.
Not great, but
Welcome to the Moon's a killer album. Yeah, Jakey Lee. That probably is the best thing about Bark at the Moon. Jakey Lee's guitar playing.
Yeah,
really good. Listen to Alice in Chains. That's cool. Alice in Chains are cool. Dirt's probably their best album. Right, let's move on. So in 1985, they just started recording the next album, which is The Ultimate Sin. This is a bit of a different version with the artwork really, really tiny. This was released on the 10th of February, and it featured Phil Susan on the bass and Randy Castillo on the drums, and keyboardist Mike Moran. However, former Uriah Heep keyboardist John Sinclair joined prior to the band going out on tour that year. Susan co-wrote the main single "Shot in the Dark," which still gets played live today. At the time of its release, The Ultimate Sin was the highest charting solo album by Ozzy. And it was awarded double platinum in 1994. However, this album is Ozzy's least favourite album due to many conflicts during the writing process. And I kind of understand that, because I think him and Jakey Lee and Bob Daisley were all at each other at that point. Subsequently Jakey Lee leaving, but we'll get onto that later. But this album, I much prefer this to Bark at the Moon. And I think the reason for that is that Jakey Lee got more of a writing credit. And I think he really brought his own style to this album, which I think benefited it. I think it's a real solid album. And I remember you and Hector and Tom, the Green Man, did a video on this album. And that was a really good video, actually. I might leave it in the description after this video. I'll see if I can find it, because that's a really good video talking about this album. I think
it has some good. "Shot in the Dark" is a good song. That was a single. But some of the other songs, like "Lightning Strikes," that's a good heavy. I really love that guitar riff. "Killer of Giants," that's a really good ballad. So it has some good deeper cuts. So I like this one as well.
Yeah, really great. And the title track as well, "The Ultimate Sin," is a really good song. Oh, okay, that's fair enough. Paul didn't like this album. That's fair enough.
Yeah, no, I understand. This one, the sound was a little different. I think it's kind of a little more towards like glam metal, but
I
like some of the deeper cuts better.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, okay. So, there's a fly. Get that. I think I got it. Oh, hell. Right, okay. 1987. Not a lot happened in this year, apart from Jakey Lee parting ways with the band. And because of that, the Ultimate Sin tour was cut short, and Ozzy was once again looking for a new guitarist. However, at this point, Ozzy continued to struggle with his substance abuse and alcohol. However, in May that year, he did release the live album called Tribute to commemorate the 5th anniversary of Rhodes' death. And yeah, basically, it's got a load of live recordings from 1981. Must have been on the Diving Madman tour. Oh yeah, it says it. It says it right there. If you can read that, probably, maybe, probably not. But yeah, it's got a couple of Black Sabbath covers on it as well. And the last song is the studio outtakes of D, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm really, really happy to have that album in the collection.
I like the live version of Mr. Crowley in that album.
Oh yeah, yeah. And also Suicide Solution with the extended guitar solo. That is awesome as well. That's fantastic. Metal Bands Chronicles.
Hey.
How you doing? Yeah, awesome album. Right, okay. So now moving on to 1988. Yeah, Paul. Love that live album. Yeah, it's great. It is fantastic. I mean, I'm not a live album person, but that one is fantastic. Okay, so now moving on to 1988. Firstly, Osbourne appeared on the documentary Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years. Obviously talking about his career, and
I have that soundtrack. I have it back there somewhere. It's good. It has Megadeth on it and a couple of those.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought this was quite funny. He during the filming of that, he said to the director, he said, "Sobriety fucking sucks." So that is the most Ozzy thing I think he could ever say.
Yeah.
Anyone. But yeah. So yeah. Then after that, he found Zakk Wylde, who at the time they said that he was the best replacement for Randy Rhoads, which I guess they would because of the things with Jakey Lee. But it was quite interesting how he actually found Zakk Wylde, because he had a whole bunch of like these tapes, audition tapes, and he just so happened to, the first one he picked out was Zakk, and he put it on and thought, that's all right, and thought nothing of it. But then he went to this thing. There's some kind of, I can't remember what it was now, but it was just so strange that he went to this place and Zakk was there, and it was just so strange how they kind of come together like that. And then he got him to be his new guitarist after that. I thought that was quite interesting. And then they went on to record No Rest for the Wicked after that. That was released. Did I put it down? On the 28th of September, that's it. Yeah. And this album had Sinclair on the keyboards and Daisley co-writing lyrics and playing bass. And it's gone double platinum. It was certified gold in a matter of months as well. And then on the subsequent tour, he reunited with Black Sabbath old bandmate Geezer Butler, and he played bass on the tour after that. But yeah, this is a pretty good album. I think this one gets overlooked quite a lot nowadays. I mean, well, back in the day, it did pretty well, but I think nowadays, when you look back at this album, it kind of gets overlooked because of because of his other, especially the one that came after this that we'll talk about. But I think there's some really good songs on here, like Miracle Man, Devil's Daughter, Bloodbath in Paradise, Tattooed Dancer as well, Demon Alcohol. Really, really great song.
Yeah, it's a solid album. This was also the first one I ever bought like as a new release. I think I was about like 17 years old when this one came out, and I listen to it a lot. I like it, and I go back to it often. And it's a really solid album, and yeah, I think it doesn't get talked about as like that much, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just gonna go through a couple of. Listen to Dreamer since I was listening to it on stream. That's fair enough. I've got to be honest. I listened to that song and I didn't really think a lot of it, but I know it's a pretty big like single. Well, we'll get to it later because it's on one of his later albums. We'll talk about it later.
From I think in the 2003. I think.
Yeah. No Rest for the Wicked is my favorite. Is that Wild? That's fair enough.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty good album to kind of start your career with a new band as well, especially for Zach coming in at that time. It's kind of replacing two really great guitarists before him, and yeah, I think he did an excellent job on that album and the one after as well. No, this was my first Ozzy album. That's pretty cool. That's great. So, so to finish off the 80s, Osbourne performed on the rock ballad Close My Eyes Forever, duet with Lita Ford. I think that must have been on Lita Ford album.
Yeah, that was on the Lita Ford album, Lita. I actually just did a little short video on that album.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's fair enough.
It's in my shorts if you want to look for it.
I'll check it out later, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, it reached number 8 in the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And then lastly, in 1989, he featured on Gary Moore's song Lead Clones on his album After the War. And he also performed at the Moscow Music Peace Festival that year. And then after that, move on to the 1990s with John.
Okay. Okay, so you were, I think you mentioned this, where he reunited with Geezer Butler on bass for a while during the tour. And during that time, they released an EP. Another one I used to have. I don't have my CD anymore. I got lost over the years, but it was called Just Say Ozzy. Really good short like live EP because it had basically 6 songs: Miracle Man, Bloodbath in Paradise, Shot in the Dark, Tattoo Dancer, and then Sweet Leaf and War Pigs. So it's kind of like a mixture of Sabbath and Ozzy stuff. But it's a great EP. It's one that's kind of hard to come by. I think the CD is hard to find. I don't know if anybody has it here.
I don't have it.
What?
I don't have it.
You don't have Just Say Ozzy? No, I had it like when it came out, but
okay.
It disappeared over the years somehow. Yeah. So I wanted to mention that one. Mm-hmm. But his let's see what else. Yeah, his biggest album pretty much from that time was No More Tears, which came out in 1991. And this was you got that one, right?
Yeah, got that one.
Yeah, this one this is another great one.
Yeah, this is my dad's OG.
This is probably like one of my favorites, or probably in my top 5 of his albums. Like when I ranked Ozzy, I think most of like the top albums were the ones from the 80s, but this is his best one that would come from like I'll call it a later period, even though it's only 91, but it's a great album. It was more mainstream. It was a big seller. There was more ballads. So we had Mama I'm Coming Home. That was a big hit. No More Tears. That's really a big song. And this is a solid album. Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde, Bob Daisley, John Sinclair on keyboards, Randy Castillo on drums.
Yeah.
So it's a good album. You wanna
Yeah, that's cool.
let's
Have a look through the
comments, yeah.
Yeah. Dreamer. Yeah, no. Yeah. Dreamer's a single from an album.
I believe it was Down to Earth.
Yeah, Down to Earth. Yeah, we'll get on it on it later. Steve and Thomas. Nice. Yeah, that must have been the Master of Puppets tour.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah, I remember that. I remember my dad saying about that Ozzy and Metallica went on tour that year. Yeah, did that song of Queen's Right. That's cool.
Oh, cool. Never heard that version.
Must have been that. Yeah, that ballad we talked about earlier. No More Tears. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That music video. I've seen that music video a lot. It's a pretty, well, I mean, it's pretty standard Aussie weird. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I do really enjoy that song and album. Yeah, No More Tears is a great album. Yeah, I'd probably put it in my top 5 Aussie albums, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, No More Tears. It's really great. Well, lots of songs just were on the charts. This was at a time in the early '90s. There was like a lot of like rock and metal on just the Billboard's singles. You know, we don't hear that anymore. But back then, a lot of like metal bands were releasing like these power ballads, and there would be like top 10 hits on the Billboard. But that's something like we don't really see that much anymore. But anyway, this is definitely a great album. The track also let me mention with Hellraiser, where he wrote it with Lemmy, and that also appeared on the Motorhead album, so that's pretty cool. Then after that, in the '90s, a lot of touring. So he did. Let's see, where am I? He released a live album. Yeah. In '93, Live and Loud. That's another really good live album there. And he kind of like, this is actually funny because this was like his first like retirement tour, which was funny because it's 30 years ago, but I think at some point when you're touring so much, you get kind of burned out. But that was his first retirement. Then in '95, Osmosis, I like that album a lot.
Yeah,
I mean that's cool. Yeah, you got that one as well.
Yeah,
it's up there. It's not the albums, but it has some good stuff in there. I like Perry Mason.
Yeah,
Thunder Underground. I really like that one. That's a heavier song.
Yeah,
the song "Ghost Behind My Eyes." I like that one. That's just more like a ballad, but
yeah,
I think this one has.
I like See You on the Other Side. See You on the Other Side. I really like that one. And My Jekyll Doesn't Hide. I love that. I love that riff in My Jekyll Doesn't Hide.
Yeah,
that is really cool. Yeah, not his best album, I'd say, but still got some. It's kind of like a half and half, isn't it? It's like half is pretty good, and then the other half is kind of skippable. Let's see. Summerlands, it's cool. The Like Solo Ozzy. That's pretty cool. What era Ozzy though? That's the question.
Yeah, the band. A lot of people are talking about that band, Summerland. So they released a few. They released an album last year.
Cool.
So back to Osmosis.
Yeah,
pretty good lineup. Ozzy, Zakk Wylde, Geezer Butler, and Dean Castronovo. So, Ozzy, like when he does a solo album, he only gets these top tier musicians. So he's always had really great people playing with him. And so we're in the middle of the 90s.
That's about
There's a
95,
tour.
96. Yeah.
This is when he started a big tour called Ozfest, and this is one of his most successful tours, probably his biggest success of the 90s. And this is actually the only time I saw Ozzy Osbourne around 1995, and Megadeth opened for him. So it was a really great show. Yeah, it was Ozzy and Megadeth, and I don't remember who else played. It was a long time ago, but that was a really great show. So I saw them in New Jersey. But anyway, going back to this, so the tour, Ozfest kind of went on, and they've had like so many different bands play Ozfest. He didn't really release. I mean, between 95 and 99, which is the rest of what I'm talking about, he didn't release any more albums. I know at one point, actually, he released a greatest hits album called The Ozman Cometh in 1997. And he did play with some other people. He played with Mike Borden, who was from Faith No More, and Robert Trujillo, who we know from Metallica and Suicidal Tendencies. And actually, Robert Trujillo was on one of the albums, which I guess you'll get to soon. And yeah, I mean that was pretty much like the whole second half of the 90s. It was mostly touring. There's really not much else to talk about. So if you want, I'll pass it on to you. So we can talk about the 2000s. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that's great. Got a couple of points. Oops, I'm not sure where Simon is. He said he'd join, but he hasn't. So that's his loss. He's missing out on the good content here. Don't worry about that, man. I appreciate you joining. Yeah, Ozzy and Megadeth. That would have been cool.
Ozzy and Megadeth is a really great show.
Yeah. A couple of tracks. That's fair enough. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, it's not essential Ozzy. Let's say Osmosis. As we kind of said, like half of it is pretty good, and the other half of it is kind of meh. But yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the 2000s. So in 2000, not really a lot happened here, but he featured on the song NIB with Primus on an album called Activity in Black 2, a tribute to Black Sabbath, which I'm guessing is a tribute album, obviously.
There are two Black Sabbath tribute albums. The first one, actually, I failed to mention, came out in '93.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought when I found that out, I thought that was pretty cool that he performed with Primus on a Black Sabbath cover. I think that's pretty badass. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Steve Vai, he played on, what song was it? I want to say Tomorrow or Denial.
Yeah, actually, I just saw that he, he's listed as a writer for My Little Man. So I guess he did play.
Oh, maybe he is. Yeah, maybe. I know he did write. Yeah, he did write a song, and maybe played guitar on one, but I can't really remember it. So I mean, well, the advantages. Yeah, that's true. Kind of on the subject, I've never got a chance to see Ozzy Osbourne live or Black Sabbath, unfortunately, which does suck, but it is what it is. Never heard of Suicidal Tendencies. No. They're like crossover thrash. Not
Yeah,
a thrash
it's
metal
crossover.
crossover.
They've been around since they started out as like a punk rock band. Yeah. They were like hardcore punk, and then they did a crossover.
Yeah. Rob was in Suicidal, and then he went over to Ozzy, and then now he's in Metallica.
Yeah.
Primus. Yeah. I wonder if they do it like a funk version of NIB. that'd be a bit strange. But yeah, I don't know who actually any other tracks on that album, but Ozzy plays on that song, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, after that, in 2001, he releases his 8th album, Down to Earth. It was the first album in 6 years and featured the single Dreamer, which peaked at number 10 on Billboard's mainstream rock tracks. I've got to be honest, when I'd listened to that song, I didn't really like it, but that's probably because it sounded too, I don't know, kind of too poppy.
Yeah.
But the album did pretty well. It reached number 19 on the UK albums chart, number 4 on the US Billboard 200. And in 2003, it achieved platinum status. And I did listen to this album. It's a pretty good album. I think compared to some of the other albums that come after it, I think it's a lot better than some of them. Some of it kind of reminds me of like a little bit kind of 80s Ozzy in areas, and then some of it kind of carries on from Osmosis and sort of goes into what his next album would sound like. But yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good album, to be fair. We'll go through some of these comments. Suicide, yeah, pretty cool. Join the army.
Yeah, that's a good heavy. It's more like a straightforward thrash album. I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, I remember Mikey saying that when Down to Earth come out, and he was in this record store. I think he was about 6 or 7 at the time, and Ozzy was there, and he actually showed me the picture. He got a picture with Ozzy, him and his dad and Ozzy, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I need to listen to more Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's carry on. In 2002, he released a live album, a CD, DVD set called Live at Bucktucken, recorded during the Down to Earth tour. And also, I found this quite surreal when I saw this. In that year, he performed Paranoid at the Golden Jubilee of the Queen, of the late Queen now. And I was thinking, like, how on earth did he manage to do that? More to the point, why would the Queen want to listen to Paranoid? Oh, I couldn't believe that when I saw that. I was like, what? That is hilarious. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. He meant Suicide Silence. Yeah, Suicide Silence are the deathcore. Suicidal Tendencies are different band. That's fair enough. Right, okay. 2003, he featured on the song "Stillborn" by Black Label Society on their album "Blessed Hellride." And then after that, he recruited former Metallica bassist Jason Newsted, although it was short-lived. I thought that was quite interesting because Rob went to Metallica and Jason was with Ozzy. It's almost like they did a swap. So it's pretty cool. And then on the 11th of February, Greatest Hits compilation was released called The Essential Ozzy Osbourne. It featured songs from all his solo albums except The Ultimate Sin, which I think is quite ironic, considering he said that was his least favourite album. Oh, here he is, Simon. Appreciate you joining. In November of that year, lawsuits filed by former members Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake, and Phil Sousa were dismissed by courts, stating Ozzy did not owe them any royalties or credits. Then on the 8th of December, that was when he had his accident seen on the Osbournes TV show, if anyone's seen that. Oh man, I love watching the Osbournes, but I do remember that bit when he was riding this quad bike on his estate in Buckinghamshire, which is actually quite close to where I lived there. And yeah, he basically broke his collarbone, 8 ribs, and a neck vertebra, and basically an operation was performed to lift the collarbone, which was resting on a major artery. Obviously he recovered, and whilst he was in the hospital, he actually got his first ever UK #1 single, which was a duet of the Black Sabbath ballad Changes with his daughter Kelly. That's pretty ironic. Yeah, at that point he broke the record of the longest period between an artist's first UK chart appearance and their first #1 hit. And then after that, after the accident, he apart from some short-term memory problems, he fully recovered and headlined the 2004 Ozfest with reuniting with Black Sabbath as well, which is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome, yeah. Support acts blew Metallica off the stage. Oh. Okay, 2005, on the 22nd of March, Ozzy released a box set called The Prince of Darkness. The first and second discs are a collection of live performances, B-sides, demos, and singles. Third disc contains duets and some other odd tracks with other artists, like a lot of weird collabs. The fourth disc is entirely new material where Ozzy covers a lot of his favorite songs, which went on to be the Undercover album. And yeah, he basically, a lot of his biggest influences around the like the Beatles, John Lennon, David Bowie, and other people like that. Around this time, he was inducted into the UK Music Hall of Fame, both as a solo artist and as a member of Black Sabbath. On the 1st of November, he released that covers album Undercover, which is part of his official discography. I never understand why, because to be honest, cover albums shouldn't be like an actual proper studio album. Shouldn't count for me. But, basically, featured 10 songs from the fourth disc of Prince of Darkness and a couple of extra ones. And also the band that he used for that album included Jerry Cantrell, Chris Wise, and Faith No More drummer Mike Bordin, which is pretty cool. I haven't listened to that album though, to be honest.
It's not great. I think it was just something he wanted to do, just because they're artists he enjoys. But It's not something that I really go back to that much.
Yeah.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've never listened to it. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, anyone watched the Osbournes? It was basically Ozzy Osbourne being a complete idiot for the whole show. That's pretty
One
cool.
Time Ahead, that's a great song.
Yeah, awesome. Right, okay, let's move on to 2006. He was inducted into the US Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Black Sabbath. And then after that, he went on to start recording his next album. In 2007, he released his 10th album, Black Rain, which I do have here. It was released on the 22nd of May. This is his first full proper studio album in almost 6 years. Features the returning Zakk Wylde and new bass player Rob Nicholson. Debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200, selling about 152,000 copies in its first week, and it's been certified gold in the United States. Yeah, I've got to be honest with this album. I remember listening to it and thinking it was really good, and then I brought the CD and listened to it again and thought, why did I think it was really good? Because it wasn't as good as I first thought it was. I don't know whether you agree with that, John. But yeah.
I mean, if in a ranking, it would probably be maybe towards the end. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's just not really something that I go back to often. I mean, it's okay. It's just not up to, not as good as his other albums. But I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
I like I Don't Want to Stop.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The Almighty Dollar, that one's pretty good, but the rest of the songs, like they're not really too memorable for me,
Yeah. See, that's a lot of the songs on this album, some of them are very like un-Ozzy, if that makes sense. Some of the songs sound like something that he would never write himself, and that like producers kind of forced him to kind of sing on, basically. I think that is a big problem though with a lot of modern Ozzy albums, is that like the actual musicians don't really get a massive say in the writing. A lot of the producers write it, and they just write like canned, processed music and get Ozzy to sing on it. I mean, I know that's not the case for all the songs, but especially some of the songs, you can kind of hear, or I can, when I listen to it, I think there's no way that like Ozzy would have been fully all right with this. He's probably just doing it just to do it, But it is what it is, Okay, and now just to finish off with the 2000s, in 2008 he toured that album, and he was also crowned with the prestigious Living Legend Award and the Classic Rock and Roll Honor Awards. Lastly, in 2009, he revealed in July that he was seeking a new guitar player. He hadn't fallen out with Zakk Wylde, but he just felt his songs were beginning to sound like Black Label Society and fancied the change, which, to be honest, I don't see. I don't think any of the songs on here sound like Black Label Society, but whatever.
No,
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that at all, but he wanted to get a new guitarist. So after that, in August, he performed at the gaming festival BizCoin with a new guitarist in his lineup, Gus G of Firewind, who is an absolutely amazing guitarist, by the way. And then in November, Slash featured Ozzy on vocals on his single Crucify the Dead. And during this time, Ozzy was getting ready to record a new album with his new lineup, and that will bring us into the 2010s. I just want to go through these quickly first. Deathcore. Favorite deathcore album. I haven't really listened to a lot of deathcore myself, but I don't know. Maybe off the top of my head, Die Artist Murder, Holy War. I think that's a really good deathy deathcore album. I like a lot of the deathy deathcore stuff. Don't know about you, John.
It's not one of my go-to genres. I like Shadow of Intent. That's pretty good. I like some of the older Suicide Silence albums.
Yeah,
that's about it. It's just not really my one of my genres.
That's fair enough. I've got a bit of all sorts. I've got a Whitechapel album. I've got a Suicide Silence album. I've got a Die Artist Murder album. I've got a Carnifex album. That's really about as far as I've gone into it, to be honest. But I do like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Actually, Whitechapel is pretty good.
Yeah. How much influence does or did Sharon have? I don't know. I don't think it was Sharon. I think it was more the producers they got. They didn't really. Let's say they haven't really got many rock and metal style producers to produce Ozzy's albums. They've mainly gone with mainstream people that want to kind of, these records that are they are. Yeah, that is true. That's the thing though. That's especially with Ozzy's later career. They basically the producer basically made the album and got Ozzy to sing on it. And that's pretty much it. But anyway, let's get on with the 2010s now.
Okay. There's not really much going on in this decade because he only released one studio album in 2010, and then the one after that would be 2020 is Ordinary Men. But he released Scream, released on June 11th, 2010 through Epic Records. It's okay, not something I really rank very high. I probably feel the same way about this one as I do with Black Rain. It's one of the later the album. It's okay. There's some good stuff on it. The lineup, it's decent. Gus G on guitars, Rob Blasco Nicholson on bass. We have Adam Wakeman on keyboards, which is kind of interesting because he's more like a prog guy. And on drums, it says only has a credit Tommy Clufetos, which is basically a session drummer, and he's doesn't work with Sabbath, so it's not one of his best albums. I think there's some decent songs. I would say Let Me Hear You Scream is okay. I like Soul Sucker, that one, but another one of those albums where I've listened to it a lot, but the songs are just not very memorable. I don't really go back to it. But I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's like a bad album, but it's just not really something that stands out. Otherwise, for the rest of that decade, he did some other stuff. So, for example, in 2014, he released Memoirs of a Madman, which was a CD DVD compilation, basically another greatest hits album, which is probably a pretty cool thing to own because you get the CD with the songs and then you get 2 DVDs, which just have pretty much all of the music videos, which is cool. So everything from Bark at the Moon up until Let It Die. So there's 26 music videos. on that DVD, and then there's another DVD with some live performances and some awesome stuff from Ozfest and just different tours. So it's a pretty nice package. I think it's something pretty cool. It's probably definitely worth it if it's something to pick up for the collection. 2015. That's when he announced he was working on another solo album, but it didn't really come to light until 2020. He released in 2019. He did that single with Post Malone, which is a weird combination, but I don't think it's that. I don't hate it. I mean, it's okay, but it's just kind of a weird combination with him doing that.
Yeah, weird.
He did a 30th anniversary of No Rest for the Wicked, so he would reunite with Zakk Wylde for a little bit, and they played a couple shows. They played the first show in Wisconsin on there. In November 2017, he headlined the 2018 Download Festival in Donington Park, which is in Leicestershire, England. And so that sounds like a cool show. And then he kind of, again, still he's kind of saying it's part of his final world tour. He, what else did he do? Again, this guy's always like saying that he's going to retire and not tour anymore because he has something called No More Tours, which is that actually started back in the 19, but then he did some shows for that in late 2017. Let's see what else they did. He did
that Sabbath album, didn't they? In 2013, I think it was 2013.
2013. That's true. He went back to Sabbath. Let me. I gotta let me circle back to that. So Black Sabbath 13, I like it. I think it's kind of like they were trying too hard to get back to that sound, and it seemed like instead of sounding fresh, it sounded a lot like trying too hard to sound like 70s Sabbath. I think on that album they probably could have maybe went for a sound that was a little more, I don't know, fresh, but because you have a lot of songs, I think it's not that bad. End of the beginning, it kind of sounds a lot like like the first album, Black Sabbath. I think there's a song. I think it's Zeitgeist. This sounds a lot like Planet Caravan. God Is Dead. That's a good song. So it's Dear Father. That one is pretty good as well. It's an album. I think it's pretty good, but I think it's just not. It wasn't really like the comeback album that it should have been. So that was why he was in Black Sabbath for a while, and he also they were touring. Like Black Sabbath had a tour around that time. Yeah. I remember I almost got a chance to see him. I didn't. I think it was because I was like starting a new job at that time, and I know they came around to where I live. But that probably would have been a really great show to see.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, let me see.
I'd never got to go either.
Let me pull that one up right here. It was called the In Tour, the final tour for Black Sabbath, and that went on just for a while, and I think up until, let me see how long they played. So that they ended in 2017. Again, it would have been really cool, but that one I didn't get to see. But it's really good that Black Sabbath reunited just for that short time, being able to play. And it was Ozzy, Tony, and Geezer Butler. So it's cool they got most of the original lineup in that one.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to see, because I'm here in Mexico in Mexico City. They played in Mexico City on November 16th, 2016. So that one I just missed, but they also played a bunch of shows in Europe, and if they played most of the shows in the U.S. and Canada. So it went on for a while. So anyway, so Ozzy was pretty much busy with Black Sabbath in that later half, and then going back to 2019 when he released "Take What You Want," a single with Post Malone, which is kind of a strange combination, but it would be his one of his other top 10, the last one since "Close My Eyes Forever," so it was kind of weird. His top 10s are all like collaborations.
Yeah.
So so that's really all I got for the 2010s. If you want to go to the
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go through some comments. I've never listened to Chelsea Green, to be honest. Vocal range might have something to do. Yeah, Ozzy's vocal. Well, that's the thing. He's got older, hasn't he? But the thing is, with them later albums, they auto tune his voice so bad. It's like it's not even him singing.
Yeah.
Tribute to Mitch Lucker was good. Yeah, that's cool. Goodness. Yeah, that's cool. Tom, regardless of my opinion on Ozzy. Okay, that's fair enough, man. Yeah, we did. At the beginning, John went over the 70s Sabbath stuff. So, yeah, when the stream's finished, you can always go and watch back what you missed if you want. See Sabbath on that tour. Oh, it must have been the end tour. Yeah, I didn't get to. I'm really gutted that I never got to see Black Sabbath. And now I'll probably never get to see Ozzy, which is a shame. But that's cool. That's fair enough. Hey, Tom. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, it'll be uploaded after the fact. So, yeah, if you have missed any bits or you know, or whatever, if you do miss any bits, you can always watch it after the fact if you wish. Simon, I missed 40 years. Yeah, you pretty much missed the whole thing. But that's fair. Well, that's it. You know, you're here now, so that's great. So yeah, let's finish off with the 2020s. There isn't too much to talk about here because you know there hasn't been a lot that has happened in the 2020s so far. But I think the most notable thing to say here, in January 2020, he revealed that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease following previous health problems, which, you know, halted that No More Tours tour around that time. And then on the 21st of February, he released his first solo album in almost 10 years, Ordinary Man. We did talk briefly on it.
Yeah.
His 12th album debuted at number 3 on the UK albums chart and the US Billboard. And it's the longest gap between albums in his whole career.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the one he collaborated with producer and songwriter Andrew Watt. And the album featured a whole load of guests, including Elton John, Slash, Duff McKagan, Chad Smith, Tom Morello, his daughter Kelly, I think even does backing vocals on one song, and then Post Malone. Yeah, this album, It's all right. I mean, when it first come out, I really liked it, but I think as it's kind of got on, it might have gone a little further down in my estimations. But I still think it's all right. Although I understand why a lot of people put this bottom or near the bottom. I mean, it's all right. And there's a picture of him taking a piss on the back, so you know. But yeah, I don't know. This album, I think it was better when it first come out.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I liked it a lot when it first came out, but now like as I went back to listen to it again, I don't like it as much. So it's one of those types of albums.
Yeah. Yeah. My cousin Darren, he got tickets to see these shows that were going to be played in a couple of months' time, and he won't get to see them now. So yeah, he's in the same boat. Okay, so yeah, after that album, he started working on a follow-up album pretty much straight away with Andrew Watt again. And on the 8th of August 2022, last year, Osbourne and Tony Iommi made a surprise appearance during the closing ceremony of the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. I didn't see it myself, but I think they played a couple of Black Sabbath songs. During the closing ceremony of the Commonwealth Games, which is pretty cool. That's probably going to be his last proper live appearance, to be honest, but who knows? Yeah, that is a fair point.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's very overproduced. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that performance at the Commonwealth Games was his first live performance in 3 years, following his period of really bad health. And then after that, on the 9th of September last year, he released his 13th album, Patient Number 9. And that also was at number 3 on the Billboard. Oh, that's good, you've got it, because I haven't.
You don't got
I might pick it up. I'm not sure yet.
I like it. I saw that store, so I grabbed it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it reached number 1 in the UK and the US.
Oh, it did. That's cool.
It's pretty cool. On certain rock charts, I guess. And the album also featured a lot more guests than the previous album, including the returning Zakk Wylde, Tony Iommi, Mike McCready, Duff McKagan, Chad Smith again, Rob Trujillo, Eric Clapton, Josh Homme, the late Taylor Hawkins, who passed away last year, and also the late Jeff Beck, who passed away about a month ago now.
Yeah.
A month ago now. So, yeah. I did listen to this album in preparation for this video, just so then I could talk about it a little bit. And, yeah, I think compared to Ordinary Man, I think it's a much, much better album. Yeah, Metal Ben just said it. It's a much better album than Ordinary Man. I would probably say out of the newer albums, I would probably say that Patient Number 9 might be my second or third favorite.
Yeah, I think it might be his best of the post 2000s. It could be that one.
Yeah. I'd go with that as well. To be fair, I mean, to be fair, when I listened to it, a couple of songs in the middle I felt were a little too kind of slow, but overall as an album, I think it's a really good album. You know, it got some really great people to play on it. So. Oh yeah, I think I remember that video. Didn't he do a video and it was Ozzy looking really old?
Yeah.
uh, that's fair enough, man. I mean, I was in this similar boat. I discovered metal quite a bit before that, and I kind of knew of Ozzy when I was maybe about 15. Yeah, when I started learning guitar and I started learning Ozzy Osbourne songs. So yeah, Ozzy also performed during the opening week of the NFL season. He might have. I didn't find that in when I was doing my research, but he might have. I mean, you probably would know that better than me because I don't follow the NFL. Yeah. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. He looked completely out of it. I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that now. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So the final thing, just to finish up on this, that this year he was going to finish off those last rescheduled No More Tours dates in Europe, starting from May going up to June 2023. However, a couple of days ago, when recording this on the 1st of February, he announced that due to his poor health and him not recovering from his treatment, he'll retire from touring, cancelling those dates. Yeah, I think that is, well, it's kind of a sad way for his career to end, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, whether that will be the end of his career, because we don't actually know yet, because, you know, retiring from touring doesn't mean that you're retired completely.
Yeah, well, what I understood is when I read the BBC articles that he's retiring from touring because after all his surgeries, his health, and all his diagnosis, and just getting old, it's too much for him to just go from city to city. But I don't think he didn't say that he's like never going to play another live show. So I mean, I could see him playing like a one-off type of live show, like wherever he lives. But it's just the whole thing of touring and going city to city. That's what he's not going to do. So I think he'll probably play it live again at some point. I would say, but yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit, just to kind of, you know, because that's pretty much it now for the going through his life, well, not going through his career. I was going to kind of just ask the question: do you think he will retire, or, you know, do you think that's his last album? Patient number 9. Do you think that's his last album?
I would say probably. I don't know what people in the comments would say. I don't think he'll make another album, but I mean, you know, who knows? I mean, if he's not going to be touring, he might have some time in his hands. And, you know, when Ozzy wants to make an album, like these artists, like, and anyone's pretty much willing to like help the guy out. So, you know,
he's Ozzy Osbourne. I mean,
he's Ozzy. He can pretty much get anybody he wants. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I'll be ringing him up. I'll ringing him up. I'll have a go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got all these like legendary musicians on this last album. So I mean,
oh god, yeah. Well, yeah, he could definitely do that. You know, get a whole bunch of people together and make some music.
Yeah.
Let's have a look through some of the comments. Couldn't believe he was able to do another album. Yeah, I know. Like, it's just insane that he's still going despite all the stuff he's been going through. Yeah, I know. That is true. The fact that he's still here is an absolute miracle. And yeah, Tom's just said that. Yeah, the fact that he's just breathing still.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Cheers, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, we have put a lot of work into this, a lot of research and, making up a lot of notes for this. Yeah, everyone watching right now, really appreciate it. We're nearly an hour and a half in. I'm feeling it would go on for a while. Viking X, Slipknot was the first metal band I got into. That's fair enough. I think that's pretty similar to a lot of people our age, but it wasn't the case for me. I found Slipknot a lot later. Yeah, I guess that's true. He could do a couple of small collaborations.
Yeah.
It's probably milk it. Yeah, that's true. They'll probably try to get as much as they can out of him before he finally drops down. Metal Ben says it. I think he'll probably try. I think so as well, to be honest. I think, like John said, I think he'll carry on doing like shows, like a one-off show every now and again. He might they might wheel him out, get him out of his coffin just to play a song, and then put him back in his coffin and wheel him away again. And yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, nobody really expected Patient Number 9 to come out. But it really wouldn't surprise me if maybe next year, or maybe end of this year or next year, if he's still here. that is, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he would make another album, to be fair. And Ozzy has always kind of struck me as the kind of guy where, and he's always kind of said it as well, like he wants to. He's one of them people that would just wants to keep playing, keep performing, keep doing his music. And I think that Ozzy would pretty much stay to that. He would probably just keep doing music until he's dead, pretty much.
Yeah,
I think he will. Which I mean, I saw that someone said that, like, he should. I think it was Hector, actually, the chill dude. I think he said that he should just put his feet up and just enjoy retirement because he's got nothing left to prove. But I think the thing with Ozzy is that he can't do that. He literally cannot do that.
I mean, he doesn't know anything else. I mean, that's
that's it.
Whole life,
Yeah, that's his life, just doing music and playing and writing music and doing that. So yeah, I've got a feeling that he probably won't completely retire. I think the time when he does retire will probably be the day he passes away, probably.
Yeah,
I would say. Let's have a look through some of these. So much. That's not a problem. Yeah, you can always watch back what you've missed. That's totally cool, man. Slipknot in 1999. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That is also true. I mean, Jimi Hendrix has released albums. Well, I mean, it's not him, but I've got a Jimi Hendrix album, and it's full of like unreleased songs or like half-finished songs that never got released. And
yeah.
So
I'm sure like when the time comes and Ozzy passes away, he probably still has some recordings that will be taken out of the vault eventually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. If there was like songs that didn't make the cut, or half finished songs, and they wanted to release it, and I'd want to hear it, even if it was not that great. Like, it still would be cool to hear what they were doing at the time. 15, 16 back then. That's pretty cool. That's fair enough. Yeah, I probably was about the same age as well when I started getting into more extreme metal. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. Even talked a little bit about, you know, his end of his career and what he might do. You know, that's yeah, we've pretty much covered everything now. Yeah, that is true.
You know, Tupac released like a lot of albums after he died. I know he's a rapper, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I know that's not your thing, but I mean, there was a point in the '90s where I did listen to a little bit of rap, and he had a lot of albums like after he died. Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll probably call it a day here.
Yeah.
We've pretty much covered everything. There's not really anything else to talk about. Yeah, that would be cool. I think that would be a really cool album to hear. Cheers, man, and you as well. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Awesome. Yes. Okay. We'll probably call it a day here. Yeah. Please let us know if you want to see any more of these in the comments when I upload the video. Let us know if you want to see any more of these. We were thinking we might do Maiden, possibly. And yeah, comment if you know what band you think we should cover next. As always, thanks to John for joining me for this stream, and thanks everyone who's watched throughout the stream or if you watched after the fact. I really appreciate all the support, and that's it. Yeah, cheers everyone. See ya. Gonna end it now. Oops.